There.
I can't hear anything. I'll have to listen to you.
All right, folks, good evening to you one and all, and welcome to the final round, SRA Mini Cup, round number 6, and it is the 11th and 12th races in the series, and this is going to be for all the marbles in the packet, no doubt about it. Watkins Glen, the boot course, is the one that we're on, and joining me tonight with the commentary will be a man that's a regular commentator at Cologne International Raceway, man that's also done Jaguar Samola Hill Climb and many other things, amongst which is also doing the World Rallycross. Francois Butler, good evening to you.
Welcome. Nice to have me here, Gary. Nice to be here. I see we're at Watkins Glen on the east coast of the USA. It looks like it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a very sunny day, good weather conditions. Doesn't seem to be any precipitation or wind around that we can speak of. Course is in immaculate condition, and I think the drivers are rearing to go. Watch them go now into the boot section of the circuit, and it's on the outlap. Having a look there on the pole position, we've got Yuri Swart, Sas van der Westhuizen's out there together with Kyle Lawrence, like some Melvin Goos, Gavin Fleming, nice to see him out there, Warren Sheehan, Mike McGreer, Adrian Lecoq, Johan Niemand, Adrian Nell, Omar Khan, Jason Gutierrez, the Ironman's out there, Peter Krobler, Sean Lererio's out there, Altamish Mohammed, Maurizio Pucci, Valdo Swiggers, Ricardo Tofani, there's another name you've seen before, Andrew Thomas, a karting driver, Jay de Villiers, Warwick Stewart, Peter Geldenhuis, Gerard Niemann, Stuart Mack, Christopher Long, watched him a little bit earlier, very quick out there, and Tommy Leary joining up the pack. So, like Gary said, it's for all the marbles in the packet, may the best man win, and on an outlap, and we'll be racing pretty shortly.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting stuff, given that this is the final round. And points-wise, Umpi Swart leading it on 100, Sean Lerero on 95, Melvin Goos on 93, and then Adrian Lecoq on 85. So very, very close to one another points-wise at this stage of the fight. And it's all to be done right here at the final round, and pretty much in about 30. The overall winner, SRA Mini Cup, 6 rounds, this being round number 6, and it is going to be 2 heats that they're going to be having tonight. And the nice thing, Francois, is that they're going to be inverting the top 8 after race number 1, which is fantastic stuff.
Well, very interesting. Yeah, it's a big course, 5.2 k's. Takes a good side of 2 minutes. Seems like an eternity, but it's pretty fast out there.
There's a whole lot of tarmac out there, make no
racing
mistake.
Stuff. We see them going through the kink there. It's the kink situated down in about turn 10, so it's going to be pretty quick stuff, and they'll be working their way around the circuit. So they start there at the pits. They take a right-hander turn 1, then 2, then left-hander 3, right into 4 as a sweep, then a nice little bit of a semi-hairpin at 5. They sweep left into 6 up the hill there, taking the right-hand turn into 7 up towards 8. Look, a right-hander, go left in 9, left in 10, down into 11 and past the pits again. That is much what the course is, and I think we're in for some very exciting racing. Mini's lovely short wheelbase, very nice handling motorcars to say the least, Gary.
I must say, in real terms, a fantastic motor car. There's no doubt about it. And in fact, in this format that you see here, one of the nicest cars to drive on a Assetto Corsa, and lots and lots of power. This is actually a pretty high-speed circuit overall, and there's a good couple of flat box turns that you go through in 5th and 6th gear. Some of the guys have changed their 6th gear ratio. There you see Umpi Swart coming through. He's got a 207. Well, this is his second lap that he's now coming around. You'll probably find he's going to go to the 201s, 202, somewhere around there. He's going to go across the line now. There you are. Oh, 201.1. There we go. And you're going to find that the top guys are going to be around about the 201 to the 202.5. That's pretty much where they're going to be with this one. Adrian Lecoq pops in that top positioned as well. Carl Lawrence comes into a top 5 as well. So Carl Lawrence looking very, very nice. He's got one of the rookie cars, those yellow cars. That's all the rookie cars, the guys that have not been given liveries yet. And Carl Lawrence gets himself up into a 203 as well. You'll see the rest of the guys as they come through. They will come into the 203, 204, 205. The slowest guys shouldn't be anything further than a 205.3, 205.4, somewhere around there. As they come across the line, you'll see there's Altanish Mohammed on a 204. Johan Niemand getting himself a nice time in there as well, also getting himself up into the game.
Well, they make their way down into the boot section now as they come through, hanging a left there, working their way through. Yuri Swart already negotiating the last third of the circuit, so he's starting to screech away there on a 201, getting some good time out there. Peter Geldenhuys is looking pretty nifty up at a 201. Andrew Thomas, well, he knows what a circuit's about, he knows how to apply himself. He sits there on the third best time, followed there by Stuart Mack, and I think they have got the gloves off and they're really pushing in for some good times.
Well, I see Jonathan Westhuizen and Warwick, Maurizio, Gerard Niemand, and Melvin. None of them have put any times up there yet. I'm sure Jonathan Westhuizen will be on in the not too distant future. Christopher Long goes to the top of the leaderboard, so a lovely drive there by him. Everybody down as far as Peter Grobler. There's Peter Grobler just finishing his lap now as he goes down into turn number 1. There he is, Peter Grobler. Stuart Mack, the man that's just in front of him. Now that's 4th gear. Up the hill, you'll come up there into 5th gear. As you start taking that bend, you will go up into 6th. And then it's a couple of bends that you run very, very quick through those bends in top gear, just lifting off lightly, just loosening up the tail end a little bit to ensure that you can get the nose in nice and neatly. Or there, Andrew Thomas has decided that he's going to make some changes on that motor car. See the rest of the guys now coming out of the pits. Look at that one. All of the guys going into the pits, changing, getting tires. Remember, there's tire wear factor on these vehicles as well. That's why the guys have got on, you won't see it on this screen, but on their own screens they've got tire temperatures and tire wear factor. So you'll see some of the guys, if they're on a hot lap and it doesn't work out, they'll go back into the pit area, and then from the pit area they'll come out again with a new set of boots on and run from there.
Yeah, I reckon that having a new set of stickers on is pretty nice. Make them get some serious grip. It looks like it's quite a warm circuit, so they're obviously going to have a lot of abrasion on those tires. Tire wear will be quite exceptional. A lot of late braking as they dive into some of the corners. We can actually see the puffs of smoke coming off those tires especially on the inner rears at the back there, on the driver's side as they go into the right-handers. When they go into the left-handers, you tend to pick a bit of that up as they late brake and then dive into a corner. So at the moment now, we're on board with Yuri Swart. We're having a look at him. He uses the circuit, lets himself get forced wide, then he'll go to the outside left of the corner. He'll apply the brakes and then dive up on the inside and try and hug it as tight as he can up on towards the curb, sometimes onto the rumble strip. But you don't want to be on those rumbles too much. They tend to wear out a little bit of the wheel settings, so we try and stay on the black stuff and keep it all nice and tidy and push hard for that time. Christopher Long bearing in there on a flat 2 minutes, just over the 2 minute mark. Tell you what, on a 5.2 kilometer circuit, that is really some seriously good driving.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's very quick. 1 minute 47 still to go. Christopher Long heads up from Oompie Swart, Peter Geldenhuys, Andrew Thomas and Stuart Mack. The first 7 now under the 2 minute 2 second barrier, and then all the way up to 12th inside the 2 minutes and 3 second barrier. So that's some pretty decent stuff there. See, there's a couple of the guys that still haven't not posted any times. So let's hope that Warwick and see Carl Wiltshire has come on board as well. And I haven't seen Clinton Bezuidenhout yet. I saw Clinton's name come up and then go off, but I don't see that he is still on there now. So just 1 minute 11 still to go.
Yeah, we're into the final minute now of the quali session. So if you're not on the circuit, you're not going to be posting a time, considering it takes 2 minutes. So those that are out there, they're going pretty well. We're watching Stuart Mack. He posted a 2:01. Is he going to cut off a second? Well, it's a lot to ask. We'll have to wait and see. You see him using the whole part of the circuit. You don't want to run too wide. You clip that grass, you're going to slide and slow yourself down. But they're going to be hard on the brakes, and we're pushing themselves very well. You can see there Stuart Mack in the Union Jack colours as he gears down the flames from the overfueling. Coming out the exhaust there, Gary. And
that was right up against the wall.
They're pushing hard. They are really hammering it hard there. Watch him wide there now. He's going to aim at the apex there now. Clears down, tight into the corner, forces himself up there on the apex, brings around. Oh, running wide there behind him. Looks like Peter Grobler. And off they go. Just Andrew Thomas a little bit ahead there of Stuart Mack. But Stuart Mack looking pretty tidy as we watch Yuri Swart still trying to do a bit better than that 2:01. But it's almost like a mile too far. Okay, so Yuri Swart still out there banging in the hard yards now as he goes up there. He's going to take that right hand as he goes up the hill there. There you see that tight right hand, and you force yourself a little bit of a lock up on the driver rear there now as he works his way up the hill. He'll have that short straight up towards the next right hander. He's trying to keep it tidy. I think that's about all he can do. 300 meter brake ball there as he goes through up to the 100 meter now. Dives up on the inside as he decelerates now down 2 gears, works his way around, forces himself wide, and then he goes up, and he's going to go up, bearing up to the top there, up towards the left hander. Left he goes around, and under the hoops there on the fencing, works his way around. He's going to hit the left hander and then the right hander down towards the pit lane again. Let's see what he does. He's up to 0.25 seconds. It's going to be a tight call. See what he does in the last turn or two here. But I don't think he's going to better that 2:01 as he comes in hard up towards the line and works his way up over the line. He's still on the 2:01.1 is still his best. So I'm afraid that's basically the end of the qualifying session, Gary.
Yeah, that was the last chance for him to be able to stick up a time there. So Christopher Long will be on the front row of the grid. Alongside him will be Oompie Swart, and pretty much 0.2 of a second between the two of them. Peter Geldenhuys and Andrew Thomas on the second row of the grid. Stuart Mack and Peter Grobler on the third row of the grid, with one of our organisers, Melvin Goos, and Omar Khan, a man that's done very well in the series as a whole. Omar Khan finds himself there on the fourth row. Adrian Nel and Walter Swiggers, they are just outside that 2 minute and 2 second barrier. Warwick Stewart and Carl Lawrence in the next row of the grid. Adrian the Cock and Mike McGear, and then Jason Kutsia and Gerard Nimmat. That's the front 8 rows of the grid. Newcomer Gavin Fleming, I see he's in there on a 2 minute 3. There should be now 2 minutes between this qualifier and then going into race number 1. So 29 there is out there. You can see Carl Wiltshire came on right there on the last. So Carl Wiltshire will be starting off the back of the pack, And Clinton Mercedes also only had 1 lap, so he's there in 27th position. Jarno van der Westhuizen managed to get 1 lap in as well. That brings him in onto 25th position. So it's going to be a long, hard haul to get from there. Remember, Francois, as we said, the top 8 positions that will be inverted after heat number 1.
Well, looking at the top 8 positions, they're basically 2 seconds apart. And if you go right down to the bottom, almost to the bottom there, it's 5 second difference. And 5 seconds at that speed is a relatively long distance. It's about, say, 300-400 meters. So you've got a bit to make up there. I think the main thing here is the attack of the drivers that will come into perspective, and obviously the lines that they'll follow. And at the same time, they're going to have to just preserve those tires a little bit, because that's what's going to come into play. So if you have a good strategy, you can preserve your tires up from the beginning and work your way around the circuit, and later get into an attack mode and possibly then use what's left of the tires and put them towards the front. I think it'll be something exciting.
No, no doubt about that. It's going to be pretty interesting stuff. As I said, just a 2-minute gap in between. Sas van der Westhuizen, he will be a man to be reckoned with as well. Still 2 cars in the pits, 1 more still to come out of the pit lane. Computerized system there. As you can see, that that car is obviously not tracking 100% correctly. Christopher Long from Oompie Swart as they come up the hill. Peter Geldenhuys, Andrew Thomas, Peter Grobler, Stuart Mack, Adrian Nell holds onto that position as well. Omar Khan finds himself just ahead of
Gary, the commentating volume is very soft there. So I need to adjust it. Can you see me with team view details?
Right, folks, that race pretty much done and dusted. Chris Long seems like he had the upper hand there. Nice to see that out there. So, brilliant race run out there. Yuri Swart tried hard. Andrew Thomas was in there with a good shot. So, everyone doing what they can.
Right, so probably going to have a 2-minute break between heat 1 and heat number 2, and the front 8 are going to be inverted. That'll put Carl Lawrence and Peter Geldenhuys on the front row of the grid. Umpi will be on the second row of the grid, so that's going to be a pretty interesting one. He'll probably updust and disappear from there and see what he can do. We're just trying to sort out some of the sound problems. I believe the sound has been very, very soft. So hopefully we'll be able to get that one sorted out before race number 2 starts. Right, folks, here we go. It's going to be Is that going? Right, so it's going to be 18 seconds from now. We're going to be going to the beginning of heat number 2. There you'll see the lights come on at the top of the screen, and each of the drivers will have that on the top of their screen as well. All the lights will go on, and when those lights come off, that's when we will be going racing. As the lights go off, Carl Lawrence, Adrian Nell, look at that. Umpi Swart straight away dives out, and into the front goes Umpi Swart as they work their way down into turn number 1. Adrian Nell from Carl Lawrence. Melvin Goos is right in there as well. Geldenhuys having a pretty good run. Getting bumped towards the outside, but keeping his foot flat and holding on to that position was Adrian Nell. A lovely piece of driving there by him.
Well, Yuri Swart leading out there now with Carl Lawrence sitting up behind him. Adrian Nell in third. Melvin Goos sitting in a solid 4th. Jason Gutsia looking up on the inside as he creeps a little bit closer, trying to take 2 cars out. Going to get very loud in the brakes. Oh, he gets shut out. Oh, and there's a major collision. There is a heck of a collision there now as Jason Gutsia hits Kyle Lawrence in the back there. And, well, that's a bit of an unfortunate one there for Lawrence as he has to work his way out there now. We're going to have to see if he's going to be able to recover from that now. Yuri Swart still leading out front.
736 RJI. Well, it's going to be interesting stuff to see what happens with that one, because that's dropped him a long way down. There's no doubt about it. And as they work their way through the right-hander, look at that. That's Melvin Goos and Peter Geldenhuys. Peter Geldenhuys dives up on that inside line. Can Melvin hold on? Oh, Melvin doing a lovely job of holding on to the outside of that. And then, yeah, that's Clinton Bezuidenhout and Adrian Lecoq that's having a one-on-one. And look at that battle behind them. That is even better. That being led out there by Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, Andrew Thomas sitting there just behind Adrian Lecoq, Peter Grobler, Stuart Mack, Waldo Swiegers and Mike McGeer, all in that massive gaggle of cars there now as they work their way through the right-hander now. Up under the canopy now, they're going to hang a left-hander. They work their way left around there now and make their way down towards another left-hander there, another canopy of fencing as they work their way through now. Everyone pretty tight in there and everyone jostling for positions as they work their way around. So still Yuri Swart leading out there, followed by Jason Kutsia and Adrian Nell. Adrian Nell about half a second up behind Kutsia. Melvin Gous, Christopher Long down in 5th, but I think Christopher Long is really going to be carving his way through the front end of the field.
Well, Umpi's obviously got damage on his motor car. He's retired to the pits as Umpi Swart, so that opens it wide open right now. Christopher Long is the man that's in that 3rd position, and it's Melvin Gous that's in there behind him. And Melvin Gous, that's Melvin Gous, and then it's Clinton Bezuidenhout who's now in that 6th position with Adrian Lecoq. There's a bit of a gap back to Adrian Lecoq, so Adrian has got a whole gaggle of cars in there behind him. Look at that, looking back from Adrian Lecoq, it's Peter Grobler, Waldo Swiegers, and Andrew Thomas is in there as well. And then Stuart Mack is the next one in that 4-car chain that's following him through the kinks.
Well, have a look at Peter Grobler getting on the gas out of nowhere, just pulls the whole crowd with him there as he climbs up onto the back there of Lecoq. I'm sure Lecoq's not going to have any of that now as he tries to get away and force their way down. Right now, that left-hander now, downhill, you go onto the brakes as you go down and then into a dip and then back up towards that right-hander as they work their way through. So down they go now. Adrian Lecoq still hanging in there now, trying to work his way through. Peter Grobler all over him, that little monster Mini. Grobler has really been a revelation this afternoon, very quick at the best of times. So Grobler pushing hard there now and keeping an eye there now as they work their way through. On board here with Andrew Thomas, just ahead of him there, Stewie Mack. Mack holding the outside line, is going to dive up towards the inside, he's going to close that door. Deceleration down 2 gears, they work their way around now. Hold on, feather the gas, you work your way around down towards the left-hander, keeping it all together there, maybe going up a gear. Oh, and someone's gone off the circuit. Someone went off.
Yeah, I think that's Adrian Lecoq that's just gone off there.
Yeah, he had a nasty spin off there, so he'll have to try and recover. Having a look at that, nice to see Omar Khan sitting there in 15th position. Omar Khan had a bit of a nasty one. Gavin Fleming on board now with Gavin. Well, he's riding hard now, using track limits and going a little bit wide there. They've found a little bit nose heavy there as he went in, a lot of speed, and he had to scrub them tyres in hard there to try and turn towards the left. Alright, there we go. Andrew Thomas and the yellow Mini there behind Mack. Mack exceeding track limits a little, using the whole track to the best of his advantage now. Down into the right hand he goes, and pushing very hard with Waldo Swiegers there up on his inside. Swiegers keeping a very tight line. He goes right and forces Mack to stay behind him. Keep an eye on Andrew Thomas. Thomas using Carter's perspective as he tries to work his way and find a clean bit of air.
Well, those chopping and changing those positions. Andrew tries to go through there and going over those bumps the way that they're going. I tell you what, it's very difficult to keep that car in a straight line when you go through there. So Andrew Thomas and Stuart Mack having a fantastic battle, but in front of them there is still Waldo Swiegers that finds himself with a bit of a tasty view. If you look out of his front window, that's Peter Grobler and Peter Geldenhuis. That's the two in front of him. Then that 4-car battle that's going on in front of that is Melvin Gous. That there's an in-car shot from Melvin Gous, and Melvin finds himself with a possibility of making up a whole heap of positions. Look at that one as they work their way through the tight right-hander.
Well, Melvin Gous, the man from Nuremberg, has got Clinton Bezuidenhout up in front of him. Clinton, well, a very well equipped driver. He sits up front with Christopher Long ahead of him, and possibly looking at a bit of traffic there as they work their way through. So it's getting tight up front, very tight to say the least, as he hit that 100-meter brake port into that nice soft left-hander now. Oh, and Kutsia's left the track. Kutsia leaves the track. Nell moves to the front. And things are changing up, Gary.
Now, Jason could see it dropping a long way back. It takes a while to get back onto the black stuff again. So very difficult to not lose 4, 5, 6, 7 positions. If you look at Christopher Long from Adrian Nell, that's the two front runners. In fact, running just a little bit wide there was now Clinton Bezuidenhout, the National Polo Cup racer, finds himself now in a very decent position as he's right up to second. That's his highest position so far today.
Well, like we said, Clinton Bezuidenhout, he's used to riding Polo Cup. He's a well-equipped driver. Finds himself up behind Adrian Nell. Adrian Nell pushing up pretty hard there. Christopher Long, well, he ran a little bit wide, a bit hot into that last right-hander. So he's got a bit of ground to make up. Melvin Goos, very rock solid there now. Sits up behind Long. He's got a bit of a bird's eye view and possibly the best. Ooh, a little bit of tapping. And like I said, there we go. Goos, best seat in the house.
Yeah.
Make that mistake, I'll gobble you up. And that's the way it works in motor racing.
No doubt about it. That was about as hard as he could go in there. So Melvin Goos giving it a good hard run. He's down in that 5th position. And looking out of his window, that's Christopher Long that's just come across in front of him. Christopher was the fastest qualifier going into today's race, so if he can hold on to Christopher, he will probably be in with a very decent opportunity to move just a little bit closer to Clinton Bezuidenhout and Adrian Nell. What a fantastic drive by Adrian. 85 points in the championship, and that was 15 points that he was short of Oompie Swart going into today's race. And Oompie Swart's down in 10th position. Now 10th position gives you 1 point. Adrian, that is up there in 2nd position, would get 18 points. So this single race could be the decider between the two of them when it comes to the end of today's racing for the championship. Keeping in mind that Sean Herrero is not there, but Melvin Goos was 8 points ahead of Adrian going into this one.
Well, it's damn tight up front now. Adrian Nell leading Clinton Bezuidenhout. Christopher Long breathing down his neck. Melvin Goos having a good peek there. Peter Grobler not too far back as he goes and has a look. Andrew Thomas moves up there now. Peter Geldenhuys, Stuart Mack, Jason Kutsia, they all there with Yuri Swart down in 10th. Yuri had a bit of a battle here. He's lost a bit of ground. Not sure what the problem is, but he's still in with a shout there in 10th position. Just the last of the points takers there. But out front, Adrian Nell, rock solid, trying to stave off the attentions there of Clinton Bezuidenhout and Christopher Long.
Well, Adrian Nell must be very, very chuffed with himself. That's him that's leading them out. Look at the gap to the rest of the pack, with Clinton Bezuidenhout leading out the rest of the pack as they work their way down into the right-hander.
Well, having a look at Christopher Long, he's trying switchbacks on Clinton Bezuidenhout, but Clinton's taking that middle of the road run. He's not allowing you either way, and I'm sure it's frustrating the heck out of Chris Long. The Candyman's pushing pretty hard there now. He sits up behind Clinton Bezuidenhout. Clinton's got a lot of experience there now, and watch him hold his line. So he's making Chris do all the work, and what Chris might be losing a little bit of focus of is Melvin Goos. Like again, still the best seat in the house.
Melvin Goos is right in there behind him. In fact, that is the view from Melvin Goos, and he was making life pretty difficult for the rest of them at that point as he runs right up on. That's going to cost him. Okay, can hold on to that one. Yes, he does. There they are, line astern, and it's just 5 minutes to go with this one. 5 more minutes, that's all that's in it to come to the end of the mini championship.
Well, still Adrian Nell leading out front. Clinton Bezuidenhout holding on to second there. He's got Christopher Long breathing down his throat. Melvin Goos just a couple of yards back. You can see them up ahead of him. And Peter Grobler and Andrew Thomas still in that little scuffle of their own. Stuart Mack, Yuri Swart's moved up a few positions now. He's up in 8th. So he might make another position or two, but he's got about 6 seconds to the next take. So there's going to be a lot to ask. But the man from Namibia, Melvin Goos, sitting in a rock-solid P4. And he can see Christopher Long. He can reach out, but he can't touch him. And that's what's in it for him.
Yeah, how do you make up that little gap? It looks like it's not a hell of a big gap, but believe you me, it's massive when you're sitting behind the steering wheel and trying to make up that amount of place. If you look at it, 0.4, 0.4, 0.5 between the top 5, there's nothing much in it. Peter Grobler, just 0.5 of a second, and look at that, there they're sitting. That's what half a second between each car looks like from the in-car view.
I think a little bit of kamikaze antics might add to you grabbing another half a second here, Gary. Look at this high-speed train making their way here through the circuit, and really tight stuff now. They come up towards the right-hander as they work their way through, and into the right-hander they go through the kink. That chicane, really, they're all using the rumble strips, so it's not unsettling to say the least.
It is actually very unsettling. I haven't had a chance to ride on the circuit. It's actually very unsettling. You have to counteract it as you go through there, but the only way to get through there quickly is to go down to 5th gear, cut it very tight, and as it gets onto the top of the rumble strip, you lift slightly off the accelerator and then just hold on, and when it touches ground again with the left hand side wheels, then you climb flat on the gas and hope that it's pointing in the right direction at that point. It's only with practice that they get through there that it looks visually like there's not a problem to go through there at all.
Speaking of visual now, I'm keeping an eye on Peter Grobler. He looks like he's edging closer to Melvin Goos. Andrew Thomas also trying to close up there now. And having a look here at Clinton Besaidnout right up behind Adrian Nell. Oh, Besaidnout can literally smell fumes. He looks on the outside, breaks a bit early. Nell a little bit later. Another Namibian in the house there now as he leads out. But look at Clinton Besaidnout. Is he going to draft him? He got a bit of a draft there now. He's up alongside him. Oh, he had to get out of that one. And possibly could have hung around and forced that one to go wide. Adrian Nell really using what he can on this circuit. They go past pit lane, and this could possibly be the penultimate lap that they work around. But look at that high-speed train, all 5-6 cars in it.
Now it's still 2 minutes 30 to go. Remember, it's 15 minutes plus a lap. That's how they have set the computer up for this one. Adrian Nell, Clinton Besaidnout, Christopher Long, Melvin Goos, Peter Grobler, nothing much in it. Andrew Thomas finds himself a little bit away from that, and that is his view looking out of his front window. And in fact, his biggest problem is sitting on his back bumper, and there it is there. That is Jason Coetzee. Jason doesn't have to worry much about Stuart Mack, as Stuart Mack is a little bit further back from there, so he can concentrate on the man that's directly in front of him.
Oh, Jason Coetzee going very loudy to that chicane, right up over the rumble strips there now. Blast past Andrew Thomas. So Coetzee really flying high as he gets through there now. Running a little bit sideways, he drifts his way through the corner there now. Right, we're still up front here now. Adrian Nell. Clinton Besaidnout's got through. Besaidnout finds himself in the lead. He's managed to get through on Adrian Nell. So Clinton Besaidnout leads out. And a very well-equipped driver here as he goes up onto the rise now. He's going to take it tight right hand. He boxes it close there now. Right up behind him, Peter Grobler and Christopher Long, all in there with a shout. Long has gone backwards a little bit. Yeah,
well, look, it has been quite a hell of a struggle for Christopher Long. It's been very close, and he's got now Jason Coetzee that's got a run on him as well. You can see Jason up on his inside. Can Coetzee make that one last? Well, I tell you what, he did fantastically well, did Jason Coetzee. Jason Coetzee is already right onto the back of Grobler, so Grobler decides he's not going to take a chance, and both of them go off.
Oh, that's been a very unfortunate, and unfortunately there, Jason Coetzee going very hot there out of that little chicane, and not managing to stomp on the brakes there now. It takes Grobler out too. I think Grobler's not going to be too happy with that. Clinton Besaidnout still leading out there with Adrian Nell sitting in second place. And look at the man that I said has really been hammering away. Melvin Goos finds himself up in P3.
Yeah, Melvin's had a very good run so far, I must say, and there's nothing much in that front three whatsoever. If you look at that, second, third and fourth positions, very equidistant. It's only Clinton Besaidnout that's managed to get away from the rest of the pack, and if you can call that a gap, well, that's the gap that he's got.
Well, it's not much of a gap, to say the least, as they work out there. I think Clinton Besaidnout's just got his head down now. He's sitting back, he's relaxing. Not that he is relaxed, to say the least, but I think he thinks that if he can just keep at what he's doing now, he should have this one in the bag now as he runs hard and takes the right hander, then the left hander, as he works his way through that kink again up over the rumble strips. Off he goes, Clinton Besaidnout there with Adrian Nell. Melvin Goos not too far behind Nell, and he could possibly make a difference there. Chris Long back into fourth, Andrew Thomas down in fifth, Stuart Mack there, and Peter Grobler working hard. So we'll have to see what happens there as they work their way down now into that long left hand, drop down into the left hand and work their way around.
Well, he finds himself on that outside line, and that's a very difficult line to run from there, to actually stay there, because that curbstone on the outside's got a very narrow piece of grass before you go up against the barrier. So a very defining moment for him as he runs through there, sitting in that top position. Melvin Goos has got himself into a very decent third position, just 0.3 of a second off, and that's pretty interesting. Now remember, the car that's in front, the yellow one, that is actually a back marker that is being caught by the leaders right now. If you have a look from Clinton Besaidnout's car, that's the back marker that he's got to get past, and I don't think that back marker even realizes exactly where they're at right now. So 15 minutes plus a lap it's going to be. Let's see as they come out now into the front main whether it will be this lap or the next one. I think Clinton
running towards the line.
He'll be hoping and praying. This will be the final lap now that he's on, so let's hope that that back marker doesn't cause any chaos there. He's actually doing a pretty decent job at this stage of the fight, pace wise, so I'm not sure who that car is.
Well, having a look there, Melvin Gous has dipped into second place ahead of Adrian Nell. He looked like he caught him napping as he dived up on his left hand side and took that second place away from him. So the two boys from Namibia are at it now once again, hammer and tongs. Gloves are off here in the final lap now as they work their way up towards that possible right-hander now on the brakes. Hard gear down, through the kink they go, and oh, look at the two of them. The gloves are off, Gary. It's blood noses all the way.
Well, they did pretty well not to knock into one another at that stage of the fight. There's no doubt about it. A good couple of the cars have dropped out and into the pits. The guys realizing there's just no ways that they can make up from where they are on the circuit. It's just too close in this one make formula. Clinton Mercedes leading them out by 1.6 of a second. A very nice drive by him, and if he manages to not make any mistakes, the National Polo Cup 2020 racer is going to be well set for a whoopsie. That's the back marker that is in amongst that group with the rookie skin, and that looks like he was neatly punted out of the way. He's not giving up though. He wants to go one-on-one with the front runners.
Well, there's nothing nicer than a bit of real race experience now as they work their way through now. Keep an eye on Clinton Mercedes. He's keeping it very tidy. He's not doing anything untoward now, just using the normal race lines as he works his way through. Melvin Gous there in solid second. Adrian Nell, who sat in second for most of the day, down in third. Christopher Long's there back in fourth. He had a bit of a recovery. Andrew Thomas sits in 5, Peter Grobler 6, Yuri Swart 7, Stewie Mack down in 8th in the British looking type car. Mark Khan managed to do pretty well in this one, down in 9th, and Adrian Lecoq in 10th.
Clinton Mercedes takes the checkered flag. Melvin Gous eventually comes through in second. Well done, ahead of highly placed man on the log, Adrian Nell. Christopher Long, the fastest qualifier, comes through 4th position after the tough race that he's had, but he was the fastest qualifier, and I'm sure he'll be pretty chuffed at that. Tommy Leary once again having a good race with Andrew Thomas and Peter Grobler right in there behind him. And fortunately, Sean Lerero, the man that was second overall on the championship going into today's race, unfortunately finds himself a long way down, and that's not going to help him whatsoever. So Umpi Swart will be, the championship will be between Umpi Swart and Melvin Gous, and then Adrian Nell. Between the three of them are probably going to end up being the 3 top runners. Well, folks, from us, myself, Gary Fleming, and Francois Butler from Cape Town, it's nice to have had a chat with all of you guys this evening. Keep an eye on social media, and we will keep you up to date as to the next series to be run by the SRA group.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, Gary. Nice having me on this evening. Sincerely hope everyone enjoyed themselves. Great racing out there. Well done to Clinton in that second heat, and sincerely hope the guys go from strength to strength.